Good morning, Sasha, Braden, and anyone else who might actually happen to be watching. So, this morning, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the sermon from this last weekend. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, or if you were falling asleep during the sermon, I would recommend you go back and rewatch it. It's the story of Zacchaeus, and maybe you remember the little song about Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. And had climbed up in a tree to see Jesus. One of the things I thought was really insightful was Ryan really focused on the crowd, and what I don't think I'd ever really thought about it or ever heard anyone really preach about it, was that the crowd was really keeping Zacchaeus because they didn't want him to have access to Jesus. And sort of the big point there is, a lot of times people who need and want to encounter Jesus, sometimes the biggest hurdle to overcome are other so-called Christians and the way they behave and the way they interact, right? If you remember from like the medieval times and other times, people would say, oh, and there's those Christians and they're always willing to help out and they're always loving. And, I would say that if you look at the American church, at least, that is not something a lot of people say. Oh, they're loving. Oh, they're welcome. They're always willing to help. I think that a lot of people would say things like, they're very judgmental, they're very closed off, they have sort of their own buildings and their own rituals and their own set of practices. There's even their own music and their own movies, and et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that in many ways we've lost that relational aspect, which was so attractive in the early church, that people were so welcoming. And you see in Acts, people were willing to sell things and feed others. And I just think that we, as a culture in America, our American Christian culture, we don't have that. And we as believers, are the biggest hurdle for people actually coming and having an experience with Jesus. So anyway, if you haven't listened to the sermon, I really recommend that you do. I think it was a great message by Pastor Ryan, and I think something that we all probably need to hear as we get ready to go into the Easter time, where it really should be a time of, we are celebrating what Jesus did, and we are thankful and understanding of how unworthy we are of the sacrifice that he made for us. And at the same time, we need to do that in a way that is opening and inviting to other people to come and find out what all this is about. And so, anyway, looking forward to having everybody together over the weekend for Easter weekend. And talk to y'all later. Love you.